The worst possible location for a breakdown, Gramps. Those were the mocking words that rang out when the elderly man's bicycle faltered and collapsed directly in front of the city's most intimidating motorcycle club. Black leather, inked skin, sneering expressions. He fought to wheel the damaged bike past their gathering, refusing assistance and avoiding eye contact entirely. Then the most vocal member of the pack rose, stepped outside, and performed an act that shocked everyone present. If you believe that honor calls to honor, regardless of the battlefields involved, share your thoughts on respect below. At 72, Robert Bobby Mason had come to terms with his shrinking independence. Following multiple minor strokes that left him with periodic shaking and blurred vision, medical professionals and motor vehicle authorities had unanimously revoked his driving privileges 3 years prior. For a former soldier who treasured autonomy above everything else, this verdict felt devastating. Yet Bobby adjusted just as he had adapted to jungle combat 50 years before. His military pension funded a modest dwelling on the town's eastern edge, while a weathered Schwinn bicycle served as his connection to the wider world. Every other day, he would cycle the 5-mile route to Peterson's Market, load his basket with necessities, and return home with quiet resolve. That particular Wednesday in early May began like any other. Bobby had loaded his purchases into the bike's front carrier and rear panniers, distributing weight as experience had taught him. The temperature was mild, his arthritis manageable. By his measure, this qualified as a favorable day. Midway through his homeward journey, he detected the initial metallic snap from his drive chain. Having coaxed the elderly bicycle through numerous minor repairs over the years, Bobby instantly recognized the warning of complete mechanical breakdown. He squeezed the brake levers gradually, hoping to coast to safety before disaster struck. The bicycle jerked violently, then halted as the chain separated entirely. Bobby maintained his footing, but forward motion carried him until he stopped precisely before the infamous Iron Wolves clubhouse, a converted warehouse notorious throughout the region as headquarters for the area's most feared motorcycle brotherhood. The outdoor deck bustled with activity that afternoon. Scores of gleaming motorcycles filled the lot, while their owners, men and women sporting leather vests decorated with patches, arms covered in elaborate tattoos, relaxed at tables, observing this unexpected visitor. Bobby immediately evaluated his predicament with the same strategic thinking that had preserved his life in Southeast Asia decades earlier. This territory offered no friendship. The Iron Wolves carried a fearsome reputation, thunderous engines, even louder voices, and absolute intolerance for strangers who wandered onto their turf. As he crouched to inspect the severed chain, a wave of snickers arose from the deck. "Looks like someone took a detour from the nursing home," one voice proclaimed, sparking broader amusement. A bearded giant wearing a skull-patterned bandana lifted his bottle in mock salute. "That rust bucket's probably seen more action than its rider." Bobby remained silent. He had endured far worse than ridicule. Dropping to one knee beside the bicycle, he withdrew a tarnished multi-tool from his pocket. His fingers shook slightly, partly from his medical condition, partly from awareness of hostile observation. As he tried to reconnect the broken chain links, nobody offered help. Instead, the spectators settled back, finding amusement in his predicament. Bobby kept his gaze downward, concentrating on the repair, while his lined face betrayed nothing of his inner thoughts. The afternoon heat pressed against Bobby's neck as he labored. His faded Marine Corps cap provided minimal shade, but removing it never crossed his mind. The cap, like the identification tags concealed beneath his shirt, remained a permanent symbol of his identity, regardless of how others perceived him now. On the Iron Wolves deck, initial entertainment at his struggle was becoming more calculated. Several bikers had produced smartphones, documenting his ordeal. "Going viral with Battle of the Busted Bike," announced a younger rider, carefully framing his footage. "This'll rack up some serious views." Bobby's grip slipped, sending the chain tool clattering across the asphalt. When he reached for it, the sudden motion destabilized the precariously balanced bicycle. It tipped sideways, spilling grocery bags everywhere. Canned items bounced against the pavement, while apples scattered in every direction, some rolling to rest at bikers' boots. Fresh laughter erupted as Bobby slowly straightened, joints protesting, and began collecting his scattered provisions. He moved systematically, item by item, conscious of the phones tracking his movements, but determined not to provide the reaction they sought. "Somebody ought to help the old guy," suggested a female voice from within the crowd, only to be quickly silenced. "Entertainment's scarce around here," came the reply. Bobby had just recovered the final apple when the atmosphere transformed dramatically. The deck fell into a silence that triggered his combat-trained instincts immediately. Looking up, he saw the crowd separating for an enormous figure emerging from the clubhouse interior. The man towered at least 6'5", with shoulders straining against a leather vest emblazoned with the Iron Wolves insignia and President in bold letters. Tattoos extended from wrists to shoulders, military emblems interwoven with motorcycle symbols. His beard showed streaks of silver, eyes sharp beneath weathered brows. This was Big Jim Thunder Mitchell, legendary founder and president of the Iron Wolves Motorcycle Club. His reputation stretched far beyond county boundaries. Tales of barroom brawls, legal troubles, and iron-fisted leadership over his domain. Thunder surveyed the scene. The elderly man with his disabled bicycle, scattered groceries, club members still filming. His expression remained unreadable as he stepped off the deck onto the parking lot gravel. Complete silence now enveloped the area, even background music from inside seeming to fade in anticipation. Thunder walked straight toward Bobby, heavy boots grinding against loose stones. Bobby straightened as much as his aging spine permitted, meeting the approaching giant with quiet dignity that had sustained him through war and challenging decades afterward. Without speaking, Thunder glanced once at Bobby, then back toward the watching crowd. That look conveyed a message clear enough to make several bikers lower their phones uncomfortably. Then, surprising everyone, Thunder bent down and effortlessly lifted Bobby's bicycle, examining the broken chain briefly before wheeling it toward the clubhouse entrance. "You coming?" he asked Bobby over his shoulder, voice gruff yet not unfriendly. Bobby hesitated, gathered his remaining groceries, and followed. At the doorway, Thunder turned to address the stunned onlookers. "Anyone with tools and an ounce of decency, get over here now." Momentarily, no one moved. Iron Wolves members exchanged uncertain glances, caught between their previous mockery and their president's unexpected directive. Then gradually, something extraordinary occurred. One by one, they stood. First an older biker near the back, then two younger members by the entrance, then several more. Within moments, every single member was upright. "Got tools in my saddlebag," called one. "Spare chain that might work," offered another. "My grandfather had a Schwinn." "I know these brake systems," added a young woman. What had been humiliation moments before was transforming into something unprecedented, something none of the gathered observers could have anticipated. As Bobby followed Thunder inside, groceries clutched in trembling hands, Iron Wolves members fell in behind. Not as tormentors, but as an unlikely team of determined mechanics. Sometimes genuine brotherhood transcends uniforms, but remembers those who wore them. Share brotherhood if you believe true loyalty never fades, simply awaits the proper moment. Inside the clubhouse, the atmosphere shifted completely. The interior, typically filled with raucous celebration and blaring rock music, had fallen into strange, expectant quiet. Thunder cleared a billiard table with one sweep of his massive arm, sending balls rolling into pockets, and positioned Bobby's bicycle atop the green surface. "Let's assess what we're dealing with," he stated, tone businesslike. Fellow bikers gathered around this impromptu workshop as toolkits materialized from pockets and storage compartments. Bobby stood somewhat apart, observing with quiet amazement as these individuals who had been ridiculing him moments earlier now focused intently on his bicycle. "Chains completely destroyed," one announced. "Links are worn through." "Brake cables are frayed too," noted another. "Surprised they haven't snapped already." Thunder nodded, examining the bicycle with practiced mechanical knowledge. Then unexpectedly, he turned his attention to Bobby directly. The large man approached and with surprising delicacy reached toward Bobby's neck. Bobby tensed instinctively until realizing Thunder's intention. The biker president carefully extracted the concealed dog tags from beneath Bobby's worn shirt. Metal clinked softly as Thunder held them in his palm, reading the embossed information aloud. Robert Mason, service number 153824947, blood type AB, positive, religion Protestant. He paused, then continued with newfound reverence. 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines, Vietnam, 1969. The bar became absolutely silent. You were a Marine, Thunder stated, not questioning but acknowledging. Bobby nodded once. Still am, just with more miles. From the crowd's edge, a younger biker with carefully groomed facial hair stepped forward. Mason from Bravo Company? Jimmy's eyes focused sharply. Yes. My father was David Patterson, served under you at Con Tien. Bobby's stoic expression softened noticeably. Dave Patterson, excellent medic, courageous soldier. He made it home because of you, the younger Patterson continued, voice thick with emotion. Always said the only reason he survived that rocket attack was because his squad leader, you, dragged him 300 yards to safety after he took fragments in his back. Murmurs rippled through the assembled bikers. The clubhouse atmosphere had transformed entirely from derision to something approaching veneration. Your father saved many lives, Bobby said simply. How is he? Lost him 2 years ago. Complications from Agent Orange exposure. Bobby nodded, unsurprised but saddened. Too many of his brothers had suffered similar fates. Thunder, still holding Bobby's dog tags, turned to address his club members with unmistakable authority. We're not merely repairing this bicycle, we're rebuilding it, whatever it requires, regardless of cost. What followed would later be described by a passing postal worker as the strangest pit crew I've witnessed. The Iron Wolves, infamous for their rough reputation, became a focused mechanical team. They didn't simply fix the broken chain, they completely overhauled the bicycle. Someone retrieved a pressure washer from storage, blasting away years of accumulated grime. 2 members with automotive backgrounds disassembled and repacked wheel bearings with fresh lubricant. Another group addressed the braking system, replacing cables and adjusting tension precisely. Most remarkably, several bikers actually departed the clubhouse, returning 40 minutes later with brand new tires purchased from the bicycle shop downtown. These are puncture-resistant, explained a heavily tattooed woman while expertly mounting them. Better for local roads. Throughout this process, Bobby stood quietly, accepting their assistance with dignity, befitting a man who understood this transcended charity. This represented something deeper, connecting the brotherhood he'd known in combat with the one he'd unexpectedly discovered here. As the rebuilt bicycle neared completion, Thunder disappeared into his office at the clubhouse's rear. He returned carrying something carefully folded, a leather vest, brand new, similar to those worn by members, but distinct in its simplicity. The bar fell silent again as Thunder approached Bobby. We can't make you an Iron Wolf. That requires different service, he explained, but we can acknowledge yours. He unfolded the vest, revealing the club's logo embroidered on the back with one crucial difference. Above the snarling wolf emblem appeared a single word in bold stitching: honor. Without ceremony, Thunder placed it gently over Bobby's shoulders. It fit perfectly, as though measured and tailored specifically for him. Thank you for your service, Marine, Thunder said, extending his hand. Bobby grasped it, his own trembling, slightly but grip remaining firm. Bobby Mason didn't weep when they presented the vest. Men of his era and upbringing rarely displayed such emotion publicly, but close observers noticed how his weathered hand shook more from sentiment than age as he traced the embroidered word, honor, with his fingertips. Bike's finished, announced one of the volunteer mechanics, wheeling the transformed Schwinn forward. What had arrived as a deteriorating, failing machine now gleamed with renewed vitality. The frame sparkled where corrosion had been removed and fresh paint applied. New cables, handlebar grips, and puncture-resistant tires gave it a revitalized appearance, matching its smooth operation. "We installed this also," said Patterson, indicating a small Marine Corps emblem they'd mounted on the front mudguard. "So, everyone knows." Bobby nodded appreciation, momentarily beyond words. As he prepared to depart, groceries repacked in basket and panniers, Thunder made one final proclamation to the gathered club. "Who's providing the sergeant an escort home?" Every hand in the clubhouse shot up. Minutes later, Bobby Mason rode his rejuvenated bicycle down Central Avenue in a procession that halted traffic and caused pedestrians to stop and stare in amazement. Behind him rumbled 36 motorcycles, riders maintaining respectful distance while ensuring their presence was known. The Iron Wolves' most notorious members had become an honor guard. Upon reaching Bobby's apartment complex, the bikers formed lines flanking the walkway. As Bobby wheeled his bicycle between them, each biker nodded in silent respect. "You need anything whatsoever, you come to us," Thunder told him before departing. "And if that bike ever troubles you again, bring it straight to Iron Wolves." The following day, as Bobby made his regular trip to the market, he noticed unusual activity at the clubhouse. A small crew was installing a bronze plaque beside the entrance. By his return, the plaque was mounted, its message clear to all who entered. "Here, honor is earned and remembered." That plaque became merely the first visible indication of deeper change. The Iron Wolves remained as fierce and independent as always, but something fundamental had shifted in their community relationships, particularly with veterans. A new tradition emerged, one residents would soon recognize. Whenever Bobby Mason pedaled past Iron Wolves, the transformation was immediate and powerful. Conversations ceased, engines died, helmets came off, and every biker, from newest prospects to the president himself, stood at attention until the elderly Marine disappeared from view. They never discussed this ritual, simply performed it, understanding that certain honors require no explanation. Bobby continued cycling through town, his back straighter beneath a leather vest proclaiming a single powerful truth. Honor transcends uniforms, decades, and circumstances when one warrior recognizes another. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe for more powerful stories about unexpected connections and the bonds that unite us across all differences.